There were two schools of thought. One, never come back to Jackson Barracks. You know, certain people in Congress and certain people in the Army said, why would we put money into rebuilding back there? It just flooded. And, you know, common sense dictates that you have to look at it that way at least a little bit. But then the Secretary of the Army came down and said, we're going to rebuild here. So we had to find a way to rebuild. If any flooding came again or hurricanes came again, we wouldn't be as affected as we were the first time. Obviously, you could build back very contemporary, very modern looking buildings, but it didn't really make sense when you looked at the beauty of the historic area of Jackson Barracks.
Watching the vehicles coming down, but that's probably the biggest thing, seeing the hundreds of Humvees that were coming down into the Memorial Convention Center parking lot to try and get ready for Task Force Gator.
And everyone had the best of intentions, but it wasn't a very synchronized effort. So, you know, we would run into civilian law enforcement agencies or agencies that had come down from other states that were convinced that they needed to be operating in our AO, and we had instructions to the contrary. And
generally speaking, we did our best to try to prevent looting and protect property during that time frame. I will tell you that the soldiers and airmen that participated in Task Force Gator were very professional.
But Katrina taught us a lot about how we were organized, or probably not organized. If you ask me the three biggest lessons I learned out of Katrina, it was you have to have communications, you got to get involved with public affairs, you got to have the media with you. They're going to see some good stuff and they're going to see some bad stuff, but they're going to see what you see. And then the last thing that I probably learned is that we had to organize. We had to organize properly. We had to understand what we were being asked to do.
It seems smarter to not have all our eggs in one basket, break up the Joint Force Headquarters, have one north, one south. And that's what we did. So we rebuilt half the Joint Force Headquarters here, half in Alexandria, Camp Beauregard, Pineville. We also, instead of building the lakefront airport right back on the lake, we decided to build that in Hammond, much further away from the flood zone. So that's the reason we started spreading projects out all over the state.
There's a difference between having a disaster response plan and being able to implement it effectively. We, like anyone else, had tunnel vision when it came to what is the National Guard's response to an emergency. We implemented our response. Well, the problem was it was overwhelming for us, and there was this problem with interoperability between other agencies. Part of the thing that came out of there is the incident command system, which kind of standardized everything.
So I think there's a great deal of pride, and I think our Guard responded exceptionally well. And I think, another testimonial is when you sit down and look at how the Guard responded. I know there's a lot of backlash and all this other stuff, but let me tell you, it's all bull. The Louisiana Guard, when you look at what they were faced with, the 256 Brigade just got back from deployment, and they dove right in, rolled up their sleeves to one of the greatest, catastrophes we've ever had.